This is a pre-transer from Awards Watch, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with Emma Seligman about her fantastic film Bottoms. How are you, Emma?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I got a chance to see this movie at South by Southwest, but I didn't see it at the first screening. So I had already heard a lot about it. And then by the time I got to see it, it was like everyone was very, very excited. And I really enjoyed the experience.
Thank you. I'm so glad you got to watch it there. That festival is amazing. We had such a good time.
I feel like having seen Shiva Baby, this is exactly what I would have expected and so radically different from that film. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm curious to know how it was what you expected. But yes, I understand the second part, I think.
I think that it's a creative exploration of gender and just the way that people move through the world that we wouldn't necessarily see. And I don't think it's necessarily true to life in a very literal way, but it's just a very like it would be a fun to imagine that these kinds of things could happen in this manner.
Thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate that.
So, is anything inspired by actual events? Was there a fight club that was started at some high school somewhere?
No, no, it was kind of the opposite of Shiva in that way. I remember our production designer said something like, "They say write what you know," and Emma said, "Fuck that." Sorry, I don't know if I can say that. But
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah, that no literal life experience portrayed in this.
So, where did the idea come from?
I think that I just really wanted to make like a queer like teen movie that I could have seen in high school, and sex comedies like and teen rom-coms were a huge genre that I loved as a kid, like loved so much. And then like superhero movies or like buddy movies where friends were like fighting to save the day, appeared in genres that I loved so much. And so this was just sort of a culmination of those two things. And I think Rachel really wanted to do something with like really horny and flawed female characters. And so we kind of came together in this way. And that's where this idea came from.
Also, because of when I saw Bottoms, I had the chance to see Rachel's other movie at South by Southwest. I used to be funny first, and that is also very, very different. And it's, a
Yeah.
more dramatic performance in a lot of ways. Whereas, terrific as she is in this movie, I don't think there's a lot of seriousness to her performance in a fantastic way.
Totally. Yeah, that was really fun being at South by while she was promoting both movies. Allie PinkU and I kept on joking we were like Rachel's like shared like lesbian Canadian moms, and we got to sort of like have Rachel do both our movies there, and they could not be more dissimilar. So that was a really fun experience. I love that movie. I used to be funny, and I think Rachel's so fantastic in it.
What was your collaboration like with her on the script?
It was awesome. I mean, Rachel's a joke machine and she's just like such a funny person to be around. So it was great writing with her because she writes with a lot of creative freedom. Like she doesn't overthink, especially like the first draft. Like she's like, let's just get it on the page. And I overthink everything. So it was really fun to work with someone who was just trying to have fun, honestly, and not think about budget and not think about creative constrictions and doing something that's achievable, quote unquote. So it was great. And there's like I wouldn't want to write anything else. I wouldn't want to write with anybody else.
And Ayo Edebiri is somebody who I think when you started shooting was not super well known, but now has done so much stuff since then. I know I'd already seen her in theater camp and season one of The Bear before seeing this, but what was it like, getting her at the moment that you did, and how do you think her career has changed since then?
It's incredible. I mean, it feels sort of magical to kind of like be part of this moment for her in this rise that she's having. Like we've known her for years since NYU, and Rachel and her have worked together on so much before Bottoms. And she was definitely like working her way up. She was in a bunch of writers' rooms, and then I remember she got Big Mouth, and had all these pivotal moments. And I kept on seeing her book more roles, and I was like really proud of her. But to see her blow up in The Bear around the same time as us making Bottoms was really, really special. It's these moments are rare, you know, to see your friends rise around the time that you're working so closely with them. You have to like take it in when you can.
Because she and Rachel had worked together so much, was there a lot of improv during shooting?
There was definitely a lot of improv. Anytime the two of them were together, there was a ton of improv. Yeah.
Was was it difficult to cast any of the roles in particular? Anyone that you feel like you just found and that was exactly the right person?
Honestly, um, everyone, no, everyone was perfect. Like it was really incredible. Like everyone fit the role perfectly and brought their own thing to it. I remember there was a moment where like Havana Rose Liu, like the second Rachel and I watched her tape, we were like, that's Isabel. Like she cares about her, she makes her grounded, she believes the character even though she's saying all these ridiculous things. She's fully committed to sort of giving a genuine performance, and we found her so funny. And I remember there was a moment where it was looking like her schedule wasn't going to work out, and I remember feeling like, you know, this feels weird, like it feels like she's in the movie. And it took us, we were looking at other actors, and we were struggling to find someone with her amount of uniqueness and sweetness and charm. And so at that point it felt hard because it just felt weird, because it felt so like it made sense that she was in it. So that was the only moment where we struggled for a little bit. But everyone else, it felt pretty perfect once we saw their first tape. Yeah.
I had seen Havana in Mayday, which I think is a very different kind of role. And
Yes.
when I saw her at South by Southwest, I mentioned that too. Like she was, I guess she doesn't get that a lot. You know, not a lot of people come up to her and say that they've seen that. So it's nice to see this, you know, comedic side of things.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, this was her first comedy. It was the first comedy for a few people in this movie. And I don't know. They were kind of like, they were nervous, or like, you know, am I doing it too big, or am I doing it within the genre? And I mean, it wasn't very helpful, but I would be like, you're good, you know, like we cast you because you got it. So just work with what you got because you're doing amazing.
And what about Marshawn Lynch? That's a bit of out of the box casting in some ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, Marshawn was incredible. He, we wanted someone that was out of the box for that role, and he certainly was. And everyone knows, or not everyone, but a lot of people know that he's so funny from how he's conducted himself in interviews in his career, as a football player. But he's an incredible actor as well, and an amazing improviser. But he as well was like nervous and like, am I doing this right? And I want to get your lines right. And we were like, you're so funny. Literally just do whatever you want. You're amazing. But he killed it. He was so kind and generous and wonderful to work with.
Well, this is a very funny movie, but there are also a lot of stunts, and I feel like that is not something I remember or noticed a lot in Shiva Baby. What is it like writing in? Like, did you write all these stunts and you were like, I hope they can work, I hope they can happen, or was that more of a process working with the stunt coordinator and everything?
There were some of the stunts that were planned out. Like, I remember Rachel and I wrote out one fight sequence in particular with Hazel in depth, in detail. But then some of them were like, the girls kick ass. And so we had to figure out what that looked like, with the stunt coordinator, with me and my cinematographer and our stunt coordinator together. We choreographed, and that was super, super fun, and a skill set that I feel sort of was new for me to hone.
And the music is also really terrific. Where did you start there?
Um, you know, I don't know. I think that Charlie XCX was like always on the playlist I listened to when I, wanted to work on this movie, and was writing it with Rachel. And I wanted something that was unique, but also romantic and fun and sexy and action driven, and had a lot of like excitement in it, but also sweetness and like, sadness. And I think Charlie's so good at all of that in her music while making it unique and weird, and feel experimental and fresh. And I was just so grateful that she wanted to do it. And we brought on a wonderful co-composer, Leo Bernberg, to sort of like match her sound to and put it in cut to picture. But it was an amazing collaboration. And it,
it turned out so well. Music is probably the thing I know the least about when it comes to film. It's still probably the tool that I'm sharpening the most, maybe other than stunts. It's always wonderful to get to that part of the process when you're doing score, because you've been so tired from doing the edit and all this stuff, and you've talked about certain scenes forever, and then all of a sudden this new creative partners come in and like add all this life to the movie through music, and you're like renewed, you're like creatively sort of like resuscitated, for this last part of the process.
I know that the audience I saw the film with was roaring with laughter, and as again, I had heard great things from colleagues from earlier in the week at South by Southwest. Are there any surprising reactions to the film that you've received either then or at screenings since then?
Um, no, but I will say, depending on where we screen the film, it's interesting to see which jokes get bigger laughs where. I don't know, like particularly when we screen the movie for queer audiences, I feel like certain jokes hit different. And I don't know, I always have fun sort of watching that, and seeing what people respond to the most.
And what's next for you?
I think just more weird movies, more more queer and more Jewish stories, and hopefully on a bigger scale.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone gets a chance to see Bottoms. I really enjoyed it. And thank you so much, Emma. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
It was lovely speaking with you. Thank you.